What's up, guys? So, as I said before, when I was recording my groove catalog, I actually took the time to sample all my drum sounds and put them into Logic. So now I'm going to show you kind of how I can create a demo now that I have access to those sounds. So here we have a song, that I kind of put together from some Apple loops, which are royalty free. So if you are a copyright bot searching the internet, keep scrolling. You know what I mean? Like, these are copyright free. Shout out Apple Loops. So let's hear what this sounds like. Cool. So it's super poppy. So say this is your demo that you're sending me, and you went through the Groove catalog and you think, okay, I kind of want this pop sound, and I use bright cymbals on some of those recordings. You can tell me those things, and I'd cook up a beat, with those sounds. So these are the pop sounds that I used on the Groove catalog, which are my A Customs, my Superphonic snare, and my Catalina Maple. Cool. So those are the pop sounds. Let's just hear what it sounds like in the mix, see if we like that. Kind of works, but it doesn't feel just right for the song, right? So now we can shuffle through some of these sounds. So instead of the A Customs, let's say we go to the Zildjian Ks, which are my dark cymbals labeled in the Groove catalog. So let's hear that. So I like that cymbal sound already much better. Now the kick's a little bit much. So let's switch it from a 22-inch kick to a tighter kind of sounding kick. This 20-inch Ludwig that I have. Right? Different character, same groove, right? Different vibe, right? Let's hear what that sounds like in the mix. So a step in the right direction. Right now, what I'm thinking is the hi-hats specifically are a little too bright. They stick out a little too much. I could bring them down in the mix, or I could switch the hi-hats. But to do that, I have to go into the computer. The files are in the computer. So here we have the Carobs, which are 15-inch hi-hats, which are my dark hi-hats. But I want a darker sound, which would be the 17-inch hi-hats, which I've labeled big hi-hats right here, which I think would work better. So let's hear what that would sound like in the mix. Cool. So those fit way better in the mix. And, all these samples are normalized. So they're exactly the same volume, with peak transients when I switch them out. And when I switch the MIDI's instrument, the information stays the same. So the volume that they're at is the same. It's just the frequency of these instruments cuts different in a mix. So these 17-inch hi-hats sit a little better in the mix, as Steve Jordan has proven countless times on countless recordings. So I like those hi-hats, so let's keep those in, right? So now let's go, maybe the snare drum's not quite there yet. Well, let's see what sounds I got on the snare drum. This is the standard sound, right? Now let's go to some of the muffled sounds that I got. That's kind of cool. Just kind of like a felt, piece of cloth over it. And then the big fat snare drum, of course. Cool, kind of fatter sound, as the name implies. Not quite the character of the song. I'm thinking more of a tighter sound. So let's try the muffled one, the case. It's called case because the product from Big Fat Snare Drum is called the quesadilla. Quesadilla. So what we'll do, we'll just drag them down. Oops. Here we go. Now let's hear what those sound like. Right, let's put it in the mix. So maybe the snare drum has a little too much rim, right? Because I'm playing rim shots, and the way it's muffled kind of accentuates the rim in the signal. So now, because all these samples have zero compression, I am now free to add compression and add character to these samples however I want to shape them, how they might sound as a final product. So let's take the snare drum, let's add a distressor on it. Just put a preset that I like on snare drum. All right, let's hear what that sounds like. Kind of cool how that works, right? So now let's put it in the mix, hear what that sounds like. The snare drum's louder, so I'm gonna have to blend it down a little bit right here on the output. So that's a cool sound that you can get, right? And totally can work if that's the direction that you want in your song. So now let's try going for a little more traditional Steve Jordan type sounds, right? So first thing, I need to switch the snare drum sounds back. So let's switch the snare drum from the Superphonic. Let's just say for the sake of experimentation, let's go the opposite way that I'm thinking. Kind of a bigger wooden drum. Right? I can switch to that sound and go, oh, you know what? It doesn't really fit this song. So I tried it and I figured out that it doesn't fit, but it took like 5 seconds, so it wasn't that big a deal. Versus if I was in the studio recording and I come back and I listen back to it and I think, wow, that's not the right snare sound. Now I have to go back out, switch out the snare, re-mic it, and figure all that stuff out. But now I can do it pretty quick. So now let's go to the smaller snare drum, this 12-inch snare drum that I got. It's closer, right? A lot tighter sound. Maybe now the kick's a little too wide for that. So let's go for a little tighter kick, a little, smaller kick, really. So now let's go to the 16-inch kick. Let's hear that. Kind of works, kind of doesn't. I like the character of a smaller kick, but there's too much low end. The reason for that is because when I exported the samples, I gave myself options of having samples with a lot of low end and drier samples. So let's just try what this sounds like with the drier sample, real drier. Maybe a little too dry. So I'll split the difference by going back to the one with a bunch of low end, and I'll actually just add an enveloper or transient shaper, whatever you want to call it. And I'll just cut out some of the body. Let's hear that. So that kind of tames the low end, and I think it fits a lot better for that kick. Now, when I send you the stems or whatever, I record the kick with 2 mics. So one fader controls the attack, right, the batter, and then the other fader controls the low end, right? So when you have the stems to mix, you can blend it in however much you need for your song. So that's cool. But for the sake of samples, I just kind of picked two versions, and then I kind of finagle them through processing. You won't need to do that with the actual stems. So now we have a tighter sound, but the snare drum, maybe there could be a better option. So let's try this 13-inch snare drum. You know, another Steve Jordan type snare. I think that's the sound for this song, you know? So let's hear it in the mix before we make our decision. Right? I like that sound. Let's say that's the sound. So now I would know which cymbals, which drums to set up, which groove to play, and all that. So I'd have a higher chance of success with nailing the take and giving you the product that you really want. So now, just to kind of add the cherry on top, just add some claps on the beat at certain times. Cool. And that's it. That's how we can cut a demo. You know, we can do this in real time over Zoom, where we kind of just sample through these sounds that I can create, right? And we find the sound that fits the song and serves the song the best. So, you know, I'll let you guys, you know, hear the rest of this tune. I'll play you out with this sweet royalty-free song. Shout out Apple Loops once again. Yeah, so that's how I can cut demos in Logic. I'll probably do another video where I cut another demo with some of these other sounds that would fit another genre, and you kind of see how this process can work. And it's very organic, but it's kind of cool how we can experiment through the different sounds like that. So I'll play you out. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.